Well, all right, all right, all right. Happy Tuesday again. This is a doubleheader day. If you saw me earlier talking with my friend Deepak about inner child healing, and what a perfect bookend conversation I'm having with the Dr. Mel Krug from Minnesota. Yay! You guys have seen her before. You love her just like me. And she's going to be a part of my 5-day challenge next week. She's actually going to be talking about something near and dear to my heart, and actually how Dr. Mel and I really connected at a heart level was our passion and compassion for trauma. So her topic's going to be breathwork, trauma, and transformation, how to own your wholeness. And I know, Dr. Mel, you were in and out of doctor's offices for years. You found powerful healing through the benefits of network spinal chiropractic, and now after you radically transformed yourself, right? The healed becomes the healer. So you have been a very successful chiropractor since 2017 in the St. Paul area. And so I'm excited to have you be a part of my challenge. And I'd love for you to open up and share a little bit more about your topic and what you're bringing to the table next week for our challenge.
Yeah, thank you, Lois, for having me. It's always a pleasure and a joy and a breath of fresh air, no pun intended, to be part of your community and to really just offer my wholeness, to offer what I've experienced and what a lot of you and I have done over the years. And what I'm most excited about in the challenge is to be able to teach your community after they go through some days of work to really learn how can I use my breath with my body to anchor in my own wholeness, right? Because I think healing, sometimes we're seeking this void, or we feel like it's without us and it's outside of us, when in reality it's all right here, baby. And so the breath work that I teach really helps you embody that and helps you work through some of those kinks and blockages that happen with trauma, whether it's from childhood or even adulthood. The breath work that I teach really helps you own all those parts, your entire spectrum of the human experience, and know that you're not broken and you're whole just the way you are. And guess what? We have this thing called breath that we can modulate and use and connect with that helps you anchor into that and create more stability and sustainability in your life when it comes to your healing process. So I'm going to teach you how to do that on your own, and then you can have that for the rest of time until you transition. So that's what I'm most excited about in this challenge with you and your community.
Yeah, thank you. And we're heading into the second half of January already. Mm-hmm. And I think you and I both have been in the health and fitness industry to some extent. Obviously, you being a chiropractor, you see this every January. Everyone sets those New Year's resolutions and their intentions are good. And they're wanting to give up alcohol, or they're wanting to go to the gym, or they're wanting to get rid of their candida, or whatever their health goal is. So maybe talk about, from your perspective, why breathwork, trauma, and transformation. How does that help someone who maybe at this point, like, screw it, Dr. Mel, New Year's resolutions, kapooey. I can't do it anymore. I'm surrendering and I'm giving up and I'm going back to the addictive behaviors, or I'm going back to the resignation that maybe next year.
Yeah, that's such a great point. And it's true, right? We already see people struggling if they've set intentions and goals that actually are founded from a neurological response that was originated from trauma. What the heck do I mean by that with a bunch of long words? If we are setting intentions and trying to take actions and behaviors in our life that's from a place of fight or flight, sympathetic dominance, go, 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 the people pleasing, the fawning, all the things I talk about when it comes to trauma responses. When we are trying to plant seeds within that soil, the seeds and the harvest in which we reap is much less. It's much less fruitful. And so what I see happening is people are trying to do things from a more distorted place. And their nervous system is operating from, I should be here and I got to be here, when they haven't really connected on the inside to working through their own inner stuff versus comparing themselves to other people where they think they should be a certain way. So when I talk about breathwork and wholeness, what I mean by that is, how do we actually start to own all those parts, the grief, the sadness, the loss, the pain, and just realize that that's part of you. And it can actually be part of your fuel for transformation, and owning that rather than being ashamed by that. And when you can set goals and intentions, and I know you're doing a lot of meditation in this challenge too, when you can set your mind and those intentions from a place of embodiment, man, you experience so much more joy in your life. Like that's as easy as I can put it without giving too much away. So the goal is that we transmute that trauma to triumph. You feel whole, you feel complete, you don't feel ashamed from the past. You recognize the gifts in those experiences, using our breath to take up space in that, and ultimately set goals and intentions if you want from another perspective. And here's the beautiful thing, Lois, is when you actually do some of this work, your intentions and your ways of being become so much more natural, where there's less pressure to like set the goals, because you're living in alignment on a more of a daily basis that becomes, again, so much more sustainable and so much easier in your central nervous system.
Yeah, I know my words last year were ease, spaciousness, and flow.
There we go.
I don't know about you, but I feel like you and I've talked about the 5D and the age of Aquarius, the ascension, the new earth, whatever you call it. I've heard all different titles. Is everyone is craving that. I think the pandemic woke a lot of us up to, before we were taught never let them see you sweat, fake it till you make it, put on a happy face. I'm fine. You're fine. You and I both coming from the Midwest, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
How easy it just to say, how are you? Oh, I'm fine.
I'm fine. Yeah. That's a trauma response.
Wow. Ooh, since you
Yeah.
brought that up, can you say more about that?
So one of the ways in which, so if we experience something in our life, I call it a root experience, where we perceive that there's more drawbacks than benefits. We perceive that there's less resourcefulness in the moment. Again, all the way from childhood, in fact, beyond your childhood, your parents, grandparents, right? You know this stuff. A lot of your community knows this. Anytime that we experience that, because our central nervous system is intelligent, and that's what I speak to as a chiropractor, we will default. What do I mean by that? We put on a little facade, we put on a face, we people please, we play nice because there's a fear, and our nervous system goes into protection. And there's different ways we go into protection. So you and I, Lois, went into like ultra achiever mode because we wanted to be seen, we wanted to be validated, and we thought, if I just succeed in this way, maybe I will be loved, because maybe from this trauma, I didn't feel loved. So these voids we experience in childhood will drive our values. And so much so, these values can actually become versions of addiction, distortion. By the way, in all of this type of behavior, our nervous system and our breath is totally running on that gas pedal. So rather than try to psychoanalyze y'all or going into like a therapy appointment, what we've got to do is say, hey, let's teach the body how to be safe. Let's teach the body how to breathe. Let it know that it's safe. You don't have to people please. You don't have to ultra achieve to actually feel love and to feel whole from the inside out. So fawning and being nice and appeasing, is what we call it, is just one way that the central nervous system will default from a trauma experience.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I was an Ironman triathlete. I was always going for the achievement, the dopamine hits, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
I know I was just talking to someone about addictive behaviors, because that's a huge part of my story with alcohol. You saw my struggle with that, and workaholism. We were just talking about BNI, where you're up at dawn, down at dusk, networking, right? Shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing the deal,
Yep.
and if you don't take time to breathe in there, and I didn't, I was back to back to back to back to back. So my central nervous system was on freak out mode. That's why I reached to alcohol, or that's why I pushed myself maybe to work more, because I needed something to maybe like kind of like, I don't know, slow me down, bring down the
Deactivate.
neurotransmitters, right? And
Yep.
to be able to shut down. Whereas with you and other people that I've learned is if you just stop, like when I would get in a nerd for alcohol now, I'll actually just stop and do some deep breathing exercises and regulate and go into almost like my own, what I call it, my own personal bliss creation. And I feel almost exactly the same way I would if I had a glass of wine. So I don't know if you can speak to that a little bit, and then we'll transition a little bit into your immersion.
So you said it beautifully. When we are on, we call that super hyper vigilant, meaning your system is just on and super activated. In order for you to come off of that peak, sometimes it takes, you're seeking things to bring you down. And so naturally, a culture that's very fixated externally, right? Products, stuff, consumption, goals, achieving more, we have been conditioned to say, well, just have a glass of wine or just scroll on Netflix or just scroll on social media. And really, it's your innate intelligence saying, hey, it's time to deactivate. Now, what you've learned and what you're speaking to is your breath. As we take big, deep belly breaths, when we expand our diaphragm, so when you're activated up here, you're generally breathing high, right? Like, I got to go. I'm running away from the predator. I'm running towards my prey, right? I'm just on. When we take a big, deep breath, that sends a cue to our brain saying, oh, I'm safe. I can deactivate. I can slow down. I don't have to run away from this predator. Because, by the way, your body processes a bear the same exact way it processes a threatening email. Or perhaps you didn't make a sale, or you didn't hit the goal, right? Your neurochemistry responds the same way. So when we take a big, deep belly breath, which we will get into in the challenge next week, that actually does cue our neurology and our biochemistry to be like, oh, it's time to come down. It's time to re-regulate. And you don't need that external thing as much. You don't need to binge on food. You don't need to binge on alcohol. You don't need to binge on social media, because you're learning how to do it internally versus seeking external things.
I love it. I love it. And before we transition into the immersion, I just want to let people kind of know what to expect and why did I choose to do a 5-day health and vitality challenge. Well, number one, it's that time of the year already where people are starting to check out on their health goals. Okay, let's just be honest. And I wanted to be a light for you guys, especially with all the external world stuff that's happening around us and people are triggered by this and that. It's so easy to give up on your goals and reach for sugar or social media, like you were just talking about. So by the time you see Dr. Mel on day 4, which is, I strategically put her there because day 1, we're going to define what health and vitality means for you, not what your parents said or society says. What does it mean for you? And we're gonna really uncover what is your deepest self-sabotaging limiting belief that's driving your behaviors. And like Dr. Mel said, we're going to work on mother, father wound, ancestral stuff over the first 3 days. And day 2, I have a guest expert, Melissa Costello, overcoming emotional eating and becoming an empowered eater. Because a lot of times people judge alcohol and demonize that, or drugs or this or that, but we all got to eat, right? So a lot of times overeating, I did that, emotional eating, sugar, reaching for those kinds of things. We want to empower you. Then on day 3, we're going to identify your fears. And like Dr. Mel was saying, we got to look at them. Your fears can actually become your biggest ally and turn it into your light to shine and share with the world if you make it your friend. Yeah. And then manifest your desires. So we're going to recode your DNA for your desires. And then Thursday, Dr. Mel will be helping you take all of the stuff that's probably been released and coming up and guide you lovingly to help release it, right? Because the breath work that you're going to do is going to support them in releasing some of that.
Absolutely. And breath work is a really great way to help you find a sense of ease and stability in all of that clearing that Lois and others will be guiding you all through.
And we'll do daily meditations every morning at 6:30 Pacific. The classes every day are at 1 p.m. Pacific. And you can go ahead and sign up at loiscofi.com/health challenge. And then because I did it over 5 days and I know the power of multiple day retreats, multiple day events to go deeper and get more out of it. Tell us about your immersions and why you do those for people.
Yeah. Well, thanks for prompting the question, Lois. So a lot of what we've been talking about, right? I was finding in my work with people that there is a gap in all this understanding, right? I know you and I have had to go on our own journey to find this work, to find other people, because it's not taught in the educational system, unfortunately. Even some of the work that I'm talking about and the work that Lois is talking about, I didn't even learn the basics of that even in chiropractic school. So we've had to go above and beyond to learn this, bring ourselves through our own healing journey. And I thought, how do I close this gap for people? And similar to what you're doing with this challenge is holding that light and creating that container for people to immerse themselves, not just for a day, not just for 2 days, but 3 to 4 days, where your biology, your chemistry, your neurophysiology has been given an opportunity to just breathe and explore and have a container where you can start to stretch and discover the edges of yourself. And one of the things that we say at our Inspire Immersion is it's not your average retreat. So we're not here to like give you a huge hit and then send you on your way. We really believe in teaching you, just as Lois does with this community. We really believe in teaching you. Sure, will we bring you through certain breath work and certain body activities that will change your consciousness? Absolutely. And we want this to be as sustainable as possible. So teaching you, how do I connect with my body? How do I connect with my breath? What does trauma look like in the body? How do I activate my inner lioness, as I call it, and be able to take up space? How can I practice that on a daily basis? So it's really a self-discovery process, and we call it a coming home process. So not seeking and seeking and seeking, but rather, how do you start to land back here? And how do you become the partner and the best friend of your body? And ultimately, your body's the center of your life. So let's come home here so that everything else that we're teaching, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, starts to come online too. So we like to have it be 4 days off the grid in nature. It's all inclusive. It's amazing. The food is like absolutely fantastic. The place is magical. I mean, the nature works with us. Like there's eagles, and it's wild what animals decide to show up. So
oh my gosh, I love it. I want to go and tell them quickly. I'll be having the link in the show notes, guys, for you to sign up for that. It's in Minnesota. I have lots of friends in Minnesota in my tribe. So I just want to give a shout out to all my friends in the cold white north up there. But when are the dates of your next immersion?
Yeah, so this one, hopefully the snow will be a little bit melted. So it's on Earth Day weekend. So it's for April 20th through April 23rd. So it's over Earth Day. And then we also have one coming up in November. So we do it just twice a year. But it's a Thursday evening all the way to Sunday afternoon. So 4:20, and I joke and laugh about that. I'm 32 years old and I still laugh at 4:20. I don't know. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, you know me, I love microdosing and plant medicine. So that I don't even know if everyone understands what 420 means, but we'll leave them Google it. Just Google it. Well, thank you so much for being a part of my community now for quite a few months, and for being a light and a leader in transformation and change. So again, guys, please sign up on the link loiscofi.com/health challenge. Again, my vision for this year is to have 1,000 paid subscribers inside of my subscription. We're going to be adding in Kundalini yoga. We're going to be adding in astrology. We're really taking a holistic approach to be able to help you guys have a lot of support to getting to the root cause, and then integrating and transforming that darkness into light, and really being healthy and wealthy and wise. So any other closing thoughts, Dr. Mel, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just want to give acknowledgement to you, Lois, for putting this on and always inviting me. And for anyone who's listening in, and when you do listen in, I've been part of a lot of challenges like this, and I've done them, and I haven't seen one like this that actually is bringing you through more of a journey. A lot of it is like, drink a gallon of water a day. That's great. And this one is deeper. So I'll just invite you to really explore that for yourself, and set the tone for yourself for the year, and know that you don't have to do it alone. Lois and I, although we're leaders, we're still working on our stuff. So see us as guides. We're not gurus. We're not here to fix you. We're simply guides to support you in your journey back home.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys. So look forward to seeing you. Please hit the share button. Sharing is caring. If you see value in this, if you know people are struggling with sleep issues, depression, anxiety, just stress in general, addictive behaviors like social media, drinking, working too much, being out of balance, not connecting with spouse, partner, children, grandchildren, and just a genuine sense of there's got to be something more. Those are the ideal people that are going to really love to be a part of this. So looking forward to it. Until next time, guys, have a beautiful day. Here's to your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. Bye-bye for now.